Hello, welcome back. My name is Roop Rai, and you're watching Ghar Ki Murgi Dal Barabar, presented to you by TCSAN. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube live at 6 p.m. Mountain Time from Monday to Thursday. You can also follow us on Instagram at TCSAN too. And of course, please like and follow our Facebook page for updates and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is also TCSAN too. And if you like and share this video, you get a chance to win a gorgeous clutch and a pair of earrings as a Lori giveaway this week. These gifts are courtesy Greywall Collection and Herline Jewelry Hub. You can contact them at 403-796-9865. Number once again, 403-796-9865. As you know, every Thursday, I bring my husband onto the show, and we call the show Ghar Ki Murgi Dal Barabar because he is Ghar Ki Murgi. So, of course, I have the Ghar Ki Murgi, my husband, back on the show today, Pavan Elapavuluri, plus two very special guests. Ravin Moorthy is an engineer by profession. He lived in Alberta 5 years ago, but is now in Toronto. When he was in Calgary, he held many titles within Cricket Calgary, and currently he participates on a more international level with Cricket Canada, helping aspiring players interested in cricket, of course, fulfill their ambitions. His family is from Sri Lanka. And my other guest today is Arcot Devender, who is also a professional engineer. He retired a few years ago from Suncor with a public event celebrating his over 50 plus years of engineering experience and excellence. But in his past life, when he was a student in India, he played cricket. Yes, cricket. That's the topic that we're going to be talking about today, cricket. So I'm going to bring all my guests onto the screen now in the order that I introduced them. Ravin Moorthy.
Hello.
Hi, Ravin.
Hi.
Thank you for making the time today.
Thank you.
And we have Arcot Devender.
Hi, Roop. Thank you.
Hi. And of course, last and certainly not the least, my husband, who I can barely see under that monstrous hat.
Yeah, the sun is really hot in Australia right now. GABA is really burning. So
currently, Pavan is in Australia. So I'm going to give you a little backstory about why we wanted to do cricket, talk about cricket. And actually, before that backstory, a little story that just happened 5 minutes ago. My daughter our daughter usually watches our live streams. And today when she asked Pavan what the topic is, and Pavan said cricket, and she goes, I'm not watching you today because I've had enough of cricket in the last month. Because that's all that we watch on TV, this test that's happening in Australia right now. So I'm gonna, I know I'm taking you guys away from that game as well. I'm sure that you have your phone and your other windows on the computer open. So we're gonna quickly talk about that test. So let's start with, Pavan, do you wanna do a quick intro about what's happening in Australia right now and why you're wearing that hat?
Yeah, because it's hot and India is playing very hot. They got two wickets already. I don't know. I don't have the window open. So Shardul Thakur got his first test wicket on the first ball of his test career. So that's wonderful. But what was the last test? That was, even for an who hates India, you should have appreciated, Ravin, how India played in their second innings. You should have appreciated that, the grit they showed. So the two players, Ashwin and Hanuma Vihari, they had to bat through 30 or 40 overs, and Hanuma Vihari had leg pulled, and Ashwin, they didn't say, but the next morning his wife tweeted that he pulled something in his stomach. So both were in deep pain, and they were playing really high intensity pace from Hazelwood and Cummins, and then they batted through the whole afternoon for 30 or 40 overs, and then they scored 7 runs or 8 runs, and it was an amazing piece of grit shown. So that was something which we haven't seen for a long time, how India really batted, and that too coming from a team which got all out for 36. So that was so cool to watch. So that's where I was really on to the second test. I've been watching all through, but the third test in Sydney was really cool to watch. That's where So I was wondering if you watched and
So
what do
I
you
think
think?
you said Ravin who hates India. I don't think Ravin hates India.
Well, he did. He said
So,
that.
yeah, well, now we're gonna have to explain it. That's why I'm saying you're not letting me make friends here early. But let me start by saying that I think it was something that you're not used to seeing from India, which is fight and grit and determination. I don't think you've ever seen a team like this.
No.
I think there was a time where India would have buckled in about 15 minutes. Any Asian team would have buckled about 15 minutes. Say this is too much for us. And in my time when I was with Cricket Canada, we got an opportunity to mix and host a lot of these South Asian teams. And the joke around was that they were playing the game in the morning to get to the lunch table in the afternoon, and then they'd go out and eat and then be practically useless after lunch. So yeah, I know I was joking with the guys earlier just before we came on. I very much admire and appreciate the Indian players, but the Indian team, the whole setup around Indian cricket and the BCCI and their request or their need to dominate and control cricket entirely around the world has really put me off. So, every time the India loses a game, I have a bit of a chuckle and say, it serves you right. So.
What do you have to say about it, Arcot? Because I believe you have a lot more cricket experience than any of us here combined. Because I know Nusha has mentioned it to me multiple times that you were born in the year after India gained an independence, and that was 1948. So you've seen cricket for
47.
So you were born in the year that India gained independence. Okay, well, 1947. Ever since India has been India, you've been. You were born then. So you've seen cricket evolve over the years. So what do you have to say about that, about Indian team, how it has evolved?
First, I take no credit for being born an independent man because it was beyond my control. But one thing for sure, what Ravin said was absolutely true, that we have never known India to fight so hard. And that's the culture now of the present Indian team under Virat Kohli and all the other and the coaches like Ravi Shastri. I think there's been a lot of fighting spirit inculcated in the team. I think they would have gone for a win if not for the injuries they had. For example, the next batsman who was Jadeja was injured, and Hanuma Vihari was injured. If these injuries were not there, I think Pant played a great innings. He would have paved the way for India to win. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because of the injuries, but I was amazed at the way they kind of put their back to the wall and defended the beautiful bowling which the Australians bowled to the Indian batsmen. I think it was amazing to watch that.
You do realize whatever you're saying, I don't make any sense of it. So I'm going to let you guys.
Just to give you
He's right.
He's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely right. I agree with you.
To play for 3 sessions without scoring and defending your wicket on an Australian pitch with the ball flying towards your head and towards your chest is something which is you don't want to be in that place.
And the tempers were frying. Like there was a lot of words exchanged, and
Exactly.
the bowling got really aggressive towards the end when Australia was sensing blood. They thought that they had victory. Like they were after the tea. They thought that they're going to clean it up, and then it got really heated down there. And the way Hanuma Vihari and both Ashwin, and Hanuma Vihari is a batsman, but Ashwin is not a full-time batsman. The way Ashwin batted that day is like very good. And to add on, Arcot's Jadeja has thumb fractured, so he had steroids injected to it. He couldn't peel a banana.
Yeah.
So he was coming to face. He was getting ready. He was padded up and everything, and he was getting ready to come and face Cummins and Hazelwood. So that showed.
Yeah.
But as I said, like I haven't seen India. Well, not long ago, the test before they got all out for 36. So see that from a team who got cleaned out for 36, batted for 400 runs with and for 2-3 sessions. It's a change.
Yeah.
See, it's not
nice.
only the Indian team. It's not only the Indian team which got out for 36. People like Australia, England, and Pakistan, Sri Lanka.
Pakistan
Everybody,
always does.
everybody at one time or the other was bundled out
It
for.
happens.
So it happens in cricket. That's why it's called. It's a game of uncertainty.
You have to watch. You have to watch. It's always must see. I would say had Ben Stokes not made that 100 last summer, what I saw in the last test would probably be some of the best last innings batting that I've seen, or fourth innings batting that I've seen in at least 10 or 15 years. Like, I don't remember anything like it. That was probably the second best I've seen. And that only because they didn't win the game, really.
Yeah.
But getting a draw is a win. India,
I think they said that. Yeah.
Yeah, getting a draw was the one which they and as Arcot said, if there was no injuries, I think they would have gone for a win, and there was a very good chance of winning. There was like the run rate needed was 3 or something, and there are 4 or 5 wickets. Yeah, so it was not for lack of balls or time. It's just that I saw a meme on Twitter, like the Indian team bus was an ambulance. So
yeah, it is like that. When you go and play in South Africa or in Australia, the ball bounces to your head. Most of the balls are going to the chin. The wickets are fast and bouncy, and it's very difficult to play on those wickets.
But I think that's good. I think what is really good about this is that there is some benefit of all this cricket that's being played over the last 10 years, especially with IPL and all the players now mixing and they know each other, and you're getting used to playing this better cricket. So now we're no longer seeing, okay, you go to Australia, you're going to get smacked 5-0, and then they'll come back, then we'll beat them 3-0, and this is much better for the game. We really don't know what's going to happen, and I think you're going to see England probably win in Sri Lanka this week. I know Sri Lanka's a weakened team, but you're seeing these other countries now come to Asia and be competitive because they're spending so much of their time playing in Asia, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. IPL, I agree with you. IPL has really, really democratized cricket in India. In India, an Indian player used to get scared to go to Australia because everything is new, and they would really have to face an aggressive Australian with an aggressive crowd. Now you are eating on the same table, going in the same team bus, and staying in the same sort of hotel. So it has equalized in a sense that and the foreign coaches, and maybe Arcot can speak about coaching in India, but IPL has brought about like world-class coaches, and many of them to that, and then you interact with these coaches, and I think maybe the level of cricket I played was gully cricket, so that's all I know about that, and getting coached there. But
these days there's a lot of money in the game, so people can hire foreign coaches. There's a lot of sponsorship. There's so much of money pouring into it. When I was growing up as a boy, my neighbor was ML Jayasinghe, who played for India. And he was one of the most glamorous cricketers to play till date. Even now, I think there's no other glamorous cricketer than ML Jayasinghe. If you see him walk on the field or even running on the field, it'll be like a ballet dancer. Although he had a very good game, but his concentration was not on cricket. He was just impressing all the audience and the people, and he had a big following of young women, and so I think they played for the fun of it. They didn't play for money, and being a neighbor, I had the opportunity of seeing his lifestyle and and now compare it with what Virat Kohli and all these people do. For them, cricket is like religion. They work out so much. They spend so much time in the gym. They go and work it out. They keep fit. And because there's so much money involved in it, it's their livelihood. And can you imagine a guy retiring at the age of 28 after playing IPL for 4 seasons or 5 seasons? You can retire at the age of 28 and do what you want in your life. That was never kind of foreseen about 20 years ago.
Yeah, even you can't. The amount of money that these folks make, like again, if you talk to the guys who played in the 90s, even in the early 90s, I know talking to some of the Sri Lankan players, they used to actually go play the game and then try and have to hop on the bus to get back to their house, or sometimes one of the fans or somebody will give them a ride. I mean, that is a huge gap to where we are now, where these guys travel under almost full-time security, and fancy cars and limos and all sorts of things to take them wherever they need to go. So it's been a huge change to the game.
And I was watching an interview with the World Cup team in 1983 World Cup team, India's World Cup team, and Kapil Dev was saying that they didn't really have enough money to eat properly. The World Cup team. So when they would try to go get into their travel economy, and then the hotels were very normal hotels, and they really was they tried to make some money by saving their per diem. So this is the level of Indian cricket not too long ago, and compared to the Dhoni and Tendulkar's sports contract was like, at some point he was the most well-paid sports person. At some point, I don't know whether it's still true, but that level, it really, cricket grew with India. So, however, India's economy, however, that grew, and cricket was IPL really helped, and whatever for
Absolutely.
There was a time when Indian team used to be sponsored by people like Maharaj Kumar of Vijayanagaram. I'm talking about people could not go on tours because they didn't have the foreign exchange in India to send the team abroad. And I remember in the 1959 and 60 tours, people like Vizzy, they used to call him Vizzy, Vijayanagaram of Maharaja Vijayanagaram. He used to contribute to the players' woolen garments. They used to wear flannels at those times, and flannels and gloves and things like that. People like Vizzy used to sponsor them, and they had to give them the foreign exchange to go and survive in places like England. If you compare that with what is now the BCCI, which Ravin was saying sometime before the show, the BCC was really responsible for kind of making this a money spinning this thing for the world cricketers. I think they've done a lot of service to the cricketers around the world, because they kind of came up with this idea about IPL, how it could be commercialized and how it could be sold to the people. And this was an amazing piece of sponsorship which the world has seen. And it turned everybody into overnight. About hundreds and hundreds of players took to the game. It promoted the game. All youngsters, when I was growing up, people used to say, if you don't study, cricket is not going to give you food or food on the table. So as I was growing up, I was reminded constantly. They used to tell me, hey, your father's Jagir has gone. You have to be an engineer or a doctor, because my father was a Jagirdar and he lost his lands to the government of India, who took over the estate. And at that time, they said, my mother was the one who told me, look, now it's time for you to study, because you can't depend on the Jagirs anymore. So she was the one who made me study. But nowadays, if you take, that was the attitude then. Parents never used to say, go and play games or play cricket. My father used to always encourage me and say, go out and play and come back and study if you want to. But go out of the house, get some fresh air, go out and exercise, get some fresh air and come back. So that was the push I got when I was a kid. But at the same time, my mother put the balance in place, saying that unless you study, you are not going to support yourself. That was the way the previous generation of cricketers viewed education as the main thing, and cricket as something like a hobby. But it's the other way around now.
Yep.
My nephew goes to a cricket academy, and they pay more to the cricket academy than to the school. My so, and that's and supporting that, my parents never really let me play anything. They said that you should always study. So that's what happened. So in growing as a middle class in India, you never really have a choice of doing either one or the other. So you just have to choose one. And taking a cricket choice as a cricket was very, very risky. But now parents do encourage kids to go and join a cricket academy. So the cricket academies are like any other academies. There is even now. I heard that Dhoni is starting a cricket academy, but I'm not really.
Everybody has started a.
It's my turn. My turn.
Okay.
I need to speak something too. Talking about cricket academies or parents sending their children to play cricket. How does it look in Canada, Ravin? I'm going to ask from you for Cricket Canada. I know you have been involved with Cricket Canada for a while now. So what does it look like? What is the scope of cricket in Canada?
I mean, cricket is actually quite big in Canada. I think people don't quite understand sometimes. There's about 100,000 people that play cricket in Canada, so it's not a small amount. You go to Vancouver, probably one of the prettiest cricket grounds in the world is Stanley Park in Vancouver. A lot of cricket in Vancouver. You've got a lot of cricket in Alberta. A fair amount in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. I mean, with the population size, and Ontario is massive. Like cricket is so big in Ontario, and when we were with Cricket Canada, I was amazed to just see the quality of cricket in Ontario. There's a lot of people that are from the West Indies in a lot of cases, but as I was getting more involved, you had guys who had been in Pakistan, in India, playing sort of one level down in that first class level, just coming to play in Canada. Lots of Sri Lankan players have been in Canada and played. So it's actually like it's a lot more popular, but it's funny when we were talking about how the Indian team was in the 80s and some of these Asian teams, guys saving their per diem and, trying to survive and pay bills at home and whatever, while trying to play cricket. You think about what countries like Canada have achieved in going to World Cups and playing against some of these big countries while doing that exact same thing, trying to save their per diem and so, very challenged, a lot of growth challenges, but it's a strong sport in Canada. It's fairly well recognized. And, back in my time, we had even our national championships games were televised on Sportsnet, and it was like, so cricket is very, very popular in Canada.
What are the chances of us representing, sorry, Pavan, I didn't mean to cut you off. What are the chances of us representing Canada or having a cricket team in the Olympics? Is it already happening?
Again, blame the BCCI. And again, the politics may have changed. I'm talking about now 2014 was the last ICC board meeting I went to. But, the talk, so first of all, cricket in the Olympics doesn't necessarily mean that a country like Canada would get in, right? The moment you have cricket in the Olympics, you also have to see that, well, now you got Antigua and Barbados and Jamaica, and they're all going to be their own countries and they're all teams, and they're all better than Canada right off the hop. So I don't think cricket in the Olympics helps us in terms of visibility and getting there. It does help our athletes in terms of funding, and it does help that things like Own the Podium, where you see all our winter athletes who've done so well these last few years. It opens the door for a lot of things when you're an Olympic sport. But, again, India, and we talked about IPL. So what will the cricket in the Olympics be? It'll be an 8-team 2020 tournament. Well, what does that sound like to you? Right? So India is never going to want to dilute the value of the IPL, because I don't care how many IPLs you have, you put an Olympic gold medal around Virat Kohli's neck, he's going to remember that forever, right? There's nothing in any sport like an Olympic gold medal. So they have to be very careful. So I don't see it happening. The other thing also is the Olympic tournament in cricket, you have to have the same number of teams of men and women. And for competitive integrity, you're probably stuck with about 8 teams on either side, because the women's tournament has to have 8 competitive teams, and I don't even think that you would have 8 competitive teams on the women's side. So lots of challenges around cricket in the Olympic Games.
I'm going to let Pavan counter that. Go defend BCCI.
No, I don't. I will never defend BCCI. BCCI is very, very corrupt. There is no question. And the only thing I support BCCI is how they are asserting their because India is without India there is no cricket in the world. Like India, the amount of money India puts into it, and that's where they're trying to carry their might. And I don't really like BCCI, so there is nothing to support. But I would.
That was actually going to be one of my questions, is like what you just said, without India there is no cricket. Is how true is that? Like, what is the scope?
No, that's a very big statement. That's not what I meant. Is like without India, a lot of cricket teams. India has like 1 billion people watching every cricket team, so all the cricket TV rights get sold at a very high. India pays a lot for the cricket team, so cricket teams want to come to play in India, or Indian team to go to play there, because that's a huge revenue stream for their cricketing organizations, and that India coming and touring their country will really boost their revenues for their year. So that will help them in doing this. So this is the big problem. This is what's happening with Pakistan. Pakistan really wants to come and play with India, and India doesn't want to play with India because they don't want to contribute money to Pakistan. So that's the political side of it.
Those are choices that countries make.
Yeah.
Right? There are choices that countries and the people that live there and the governments make. But what I would say is, the BCCI has done a lot, and I agree, to bring money into cricket. And so we don't have poverty-stricken, engineers and shopkeepers' sons and all that playing cricket now. Like, these are professional, full-time athletes playing, and it makes a better product, and it has enriched a lot of people around the world. And a lot of athletes from a lot of countries. So I think the problem is that now India has grown too big, and they don't really have the right business sense now. And so all they're trying to do is make themselves bigger. But the thing is, why are you watching the test today? It's because India might win, or Australia might win. If we continue to go down this road where India continues to dominate cricket and dominate the development of cricket, eventually they're going to slit their own throats, because nobody's going to want to play. I tell you, the most interesting thing that's going to happen in cricket in the next 25 years will be the rise of the United States and the United States' ability to challenge India's financial dominance in cricket. Because once cricket takes off in the US, India will not, no country will stand a chance to dominate the financial might of the United States in cricket. So it's got to be a very, very delicate balance, which is why in a lot of cases, India has tried to curb the growth of 2020 leagues in the United States.
There will be an NCL. There will be an NCL, and then there ends IPL there.
But you see, when U.S. sports leagues are the best run leagues in the world, they have the best facilities. Outside the English Premier League, I couldn't imagine another sport challenging American dominance in anything. They have the best stadiums, they have the best facilities, the athletes, the colleges. When the NCAA gets into something, they'll have a pipeline of players that we'll never see in any other country. So I think India's got to kind of be careful, but they've got to let the sport grow, and you want other countries to come up. You watch, one of the games I'll never forget in my life is the 2007 World Cup, Ireland beating Pakistan, right? And just like, you cannot write a better story of a country like Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, beating a full member nation, right? And you watch sports because that's why we watch sports. You watch sports for the story, right? Not to watch 11 guys do something that we can't do.
That's true. But you bring a good point about America being going to be the dominant force in the next 10 to 20 years. It's true, Ravin, but by the time the American players reach the level which the other countries have been playing so far, it will take some time. But they do have the money to sponsor all the foreign players who come and play there.
Absolutely.
That's for
sure. How many track athletes from the Caribbean countries train in Florida and Texas, right?
They'll be able to get all these players to play there. That's one thing.
And I was watching a documentary about Caribbean players. Most of the reason why the Caribbean cricket is suffering, because most of the players want to play baseball and move to America to play in the major league. So
that's true.
That is partially true. I think there's just, again, in the Caribbean, you have more opportunity to be exposed to America. right? And people are coming over at younger ages, 13, 14, because I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's great to earn a couple of $1 million a year playing cricket, but if you can play basketball, you might be able to earn 40, right? And then you're LeBron James and you're the most popular figure on the planet, and you're talking about being a billionaire, and so the dreams are different at that when you're closer to America, right?
And West Indies teams, like, if you want a cricketer in West Indies teams, is you will play in IPL. That's an IPL is a big, like, most of
Big
the West
money,
Indies is in IPL. So, and I that's another thing too. So
we've heard. Sorry.
Go ahead.
We've heard about every country possible in cricket except Sri Lanka. That's where Ravin's family is from. So we haven't spoken about Sri Lanka. What about Sri Lanka?
Well, it's not going well. We were talking about it, just before the show started. Sri Lankan cricket has fallen on very, very hard times. I think they have been. I'm going to think about probably that 2011 World Cup final. And since then, I mean, Sri Lanka had a pipeline of all-time great players in the history of the game, in a 10 or 15 year period, right? They won the World Cup with, a couple of all-time greats. And then some other guys came along and were fantastic players. And not only fantastic players, these were statesmen, people like Kumar Sangakkara and Mahala Jayawardene. They were just good people who wanted to bring the game to another level. And, they were probably at any given time, when in their primes, they were 2 of the top 5 players in the world playing on the same team at the same time. And then you got, Muralidharan, and you've got Lasith Malinga, and you've got all these players coming in, and all of a sudden you go from having an average team with 3 great players that can carry you to, I think 2007 they were in the final, 11 they were in the final, 3 they were in the semifinal. They win the 2020 World Cup. They're in the final twice, and those 3 or 4 players carry them, and then they retire, and then all of a sudden you've got nothing. You've got a team of average players where, I don't know, would I pick them to beat a Zimbabwe, or, Sri Lanka's in the embarrassing position now of having to play their best 11 to beat Ireland and Afghanistan. That's tough to see, having just won the World Cup, in our lifetime.
I still remember Sanath Jayasuriya hitting Roger Binney for in the first over. Like, he devastated. Like, no one could imagine, and he had to leave the over in the middle, I think, at some point. Like he said that's the first time someone said that I don't want to bowl a full over, and then someone has to finish the over. So Sanath Jayasuriya, I have some post-traumatic stress from watching Sanath Jayasuriya.
Well, I mean, he was, and maybe Arcot you might know it better, but I don't think that in the time since, Viv Richards to the time Jayasuriya played, there was ever someone who could come in from the first ball and just not with style or anything. It was just dig your feet in and hit the ball as hard as you can.
Ravi, another interesting thing you said is about these great players from Caribbean and Sri Lanka and all that. Sri Lanka is going through the same phase which the West Indies are going through or have been through recently. They had one of the greatest players in the world.
Yes.
And when all of them left within a space of about 2 or 3 years, there was a big vacuum because they didn't develop the next generation of players because nobody could get a place to come into the team.
Yeah.
So there was a vacuum left. That happens after a great team takes over, runs for 5 or 10 years, and then they go away. Then the next generation of players are trying to find their feet again because there's a vacuum there.
And that's where Australia and India now have it right.
Yeah.
Right? You guys remember Steve Waugh was dropped, right?
Yeah.
They told him, you retire, we're going to send you out. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think every country goes through this cycle, I think. And like you said about the people in Caribbean.
You got muted.
Arcot, you muted your mic.
Did we lose him?
Yeah,
there you go.
Tell you about an interesting incident. The Gary Sobers was one of the greatest all-rounders in the world. And I happened to be on a cruise on a trip to Barbados. and I told the cab driver to take me to his home. And the guys were amused at first, but they took me to his place where he lives. It's called High Grounds, and they drove me there. And unfortunately, Gary was not there, but the door was opened, and his son comes out, a tall, strapping, about 6 feet 2 inches guy. And he said, my dad is gone playing, he's out playing golf. So I said, do you play cricket? I came to see your dad all the way from India. I wanted to see him, but do you play cricket? The guy laughed and said, no, I play beach volleyball. Can you imagine the biggest cricketer on earth, on the planet, even now, Gary Sobers, and his son switching over to beach volleyball. So, cricket is no more the game in the Caribbean. I think they're going for soccer or something. There's more money in it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I mean, I think in England, I don't know if it was ever the game, but I think they had a bit of a resurgence. England's obviously had a very good couple of years and a very entertaining couple of years. But they, I think people would rather play soccer, right? I think, it's funny when you go to London. So I was at the World Cup last summer, or 2 summers ago, I guess, 2019 summer, and going into the stores there, you expect that you would see, this, like, even you go to the New Balance store and you expect, okay, the England cricket kit would be, front and center displayed in the middle of a World Cup. But actually, I walked into the New Balance store, and at that time they were the kit sponsor for Liverpool, and the whole floor, the first floor of that huge store is Liverpool. It's all Liverpool. And then you go downstairs, and then they're into basketball a bit, and then in the little corner, and now they're hosting the Cricket World Cup, and in a little corner, there is a, there's just a little bit of cricket. And, right in the middle of Piccadilly, there's a huge sports store called Lillywhites. And Lillywhites used to have an entire floor dedicated to cricket. And again, now, very small little areas. Cricket's turned into a very specialty sport even in England. So I think really outside of India and maybe Australia, I don't think cricket is #1 sport anywhere.
No, and in England, it is so it's a very elite sport. So we lived in Horsham. We lived for a while in England. So in Horsham is a very small, and like an uppity small village, and then there is a cricket ground there, and then all the cricket ground, it's very, very elite. So it's not maybe you lived in England too, but that's what I found as an outsider to England. Football is the game of everyone else except the elite.
It's and the people's game, right?
Yeah, and it's the people's game, and the elite is like if you go to a very good school, or if you then you go and play cricket, and then you go. It's a very niche game, and it's amazing how that niche game in England turned into a people's game, a common game in India, and that I find to be.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sociologically very cool concept that, and India is a very classist society too. It's not like India is a very egalitarian society. India is a very classist society, but cricket is not a classist game in India. It could have started a classist game with Maharaja of Patauti, as Arcot was saying about Maharaja supporting it, but somewhere down the line, maybe it became people's sport. In India, like if you are traveling in train, you could watch different strata of people playing cricket. So you could play big teams, and then you could see kids without even shirts playing with little sticks and a ball, a ball which is not even really a ball. So cricket is the game of India. They say that national game is hockey, but if you ask anyone, they would it's cricket.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Simi says, I wish I had excitement for cricket inside me, but that's a lost cause. So there is one Indian person who does not like cricket.
Give it a chance. You got to give it a chance.
I'll tell you something, Roop. I think cricket or any other game is very important to the development of a personality. That's what it is important. Regardless of what game you play. If you play any team sport, I think that's what really develops your personality, your character, your everything. Because if not for cricket, I wouldn't have got the job, my first job. which I graduated from school, from Guindy Engineering. I studied in Guindy Engineering College. By then, I had played for the university. Venkat Raghavan was my captain, who played for India. And when I graduated from there, the company which offered me my first job was Beston Crompton, which is an English company, which had a team in the first division league. They got promoted to the first division. They were looking for cricket players. So my first interview was on the cricket field. Can you believe it? I went to Chepauk, MCC Chepauk. They invited me to come for the interview on the Chepauk ground. And I went there. Those days, jobs were difficult to get. 1970, when I graduated, it was very difficult to find an engineering job. I went to the ground and hoping that I'll be selected. The general manager was also in the team. He played for India before. His name was K. Srinivasan, who played for India. And the moment he saw me, he said, he heard about, I played for junior state. And so he said, they've just gone pad up. We are going to field. So then I said, am I in? Because I didn't want to play for a league team without getting the job. And he said, no, pad up. I'll see you in the office tomorrow. So I went and played the game. And next day he said, come and meet me in the office. And he had the appointment letter for me after the game. And
how many runs did you make to get the job?
Yeah. And one thing he told me is, look, cricket got you the job, but you have to keep it. So that was without cricket, I wouldn't have got this opportunity. And because my father pushed me to play cricket, I could meet various types of characters and personalities, be part of a team. I believed in fair play. Taking losses with the wins. It's not all the time you win, you lose too. And if you are able to accept that, and you have developed your personality, successful personality, it's not a sin to lose, but it's a sin not to learn from the loss. So cricket teaches you a lot of things which we forget, or any other team sport. Teaches you a lot of good things, which you can use in your regular jobs here, even in Canada, even wherever you go. I think all my success in dealing with people in which I could, attribute is due to cricket, because it helped me to make adjustments. Like Ravin was talking about how Ashwin blocked. He could play a different game, but on that particular day, he had to adapt himself to block those 3 hours, not scoring runs.
It's
you
mental discipline.
learn to adapt as you go.
Yeah, there isn't a game, I don't think, that'll teach you mental discipline. I always say that whatever I didn't learn from my parents, I learned from cricket. So you learn, especially in Calgary, now there's so much of a focus, especially corporately, on, multiculturalism and diversity. But, now you look and say how fortunate we were to be in competitive environments and not with such a diverse group of people, that you understand cultures and you understand how to relate to people, and you don't have to learn that in a work environment. We got the opportunity to learn that outside, and all the other things that come with just playing a game. It's been fantastic, and I think that there was a time where you would walk down the street in Calgary, in downtown, and you might see one or two cricketers. So you always wave to them. Now, there's so many people playing the game that you don't know everybody that plays cricket anymore in Calgary. But it is an extremely, extremely popular game. And I'm now 7 years from being really involved in cricket. And it's still the thing I get asked about the most.
I actually am curious, is the cricket players, or the number of people that are playing cricket in Calgary, yes, has increased multiple. Like, I remember when I was growing up, when I was in high school, I don't think there was that much cricket around. But now when you go to Northeast or you go to Riley Park, you see people playing, there's teams. My question is, are majority of these people immigrant, or are there any Canadian-born kids getting involved in cricket as well?
Sure. I would say the best player in Canada right now is in Toronto. Is a young man named Nitish Kumar. He played his first class game when he was 14, I believe. And he's in his 20s now. He's playing. He's just gone down to the Caribbean. I think he's got a contract with the Leeward Islands team to play in the Caribbean Premier League. So yes, there are, but very few success stories like that. I think it's still an immigrant game, but we're getting better at it. And I think one of the good things that, Cricket Canada and its affiliate organizations in the 10 provinces do is get cricket in schools. And, it's a free program, and it's a great opportunity for schools to have cricket programs. This has been going on for a long time, but, thousands of children across the country play cricket every year, and you wouldn't even know about it. Right. But, you walk by school fields in the middle of the day. Toronto has actually schools playing inter-school in Toronto. I don't think we're there yet in Calgary. But there's just lots of opportunity. And we've done a great job even in Alberta, seeing the women's cricket get played, and that every year, I don't know if last year, obviously with COVID, but, you get 4 teams kind of playing a tournament every year, and we're getting people. A few years back, there was a young lady who had played South Africa under 16, I think, and had come here to live in Canada for a few years, and she got a chance to play for the Canadian team. And so there's lots of opportunities for women, for kids, for school kids, for people who've never seen the game before, to people who may hate the game, like that person just note there. There's just tons of opportunities.
She's troubled by her husband watching, or like my daughter. Like they hoard the TV for 5 days, so who wouldn't be?
I tell you, I was 2 years ago, 2018 summer, I was at a baseball game with the wife and my kids in Seattle. The Blue Jays were playing Seattle. And about halfway through the game, my wife turns to me. My wife is from South Africa, but she's never been to a cricket match before. But she says, "You know what? Like, baseball is actually really boring. Cricket is way better." And I said, "Oh, let's see." And so, I said, her being from South Africa and me being from England, we got a chance to go to the World Cup last year. We went to the first game of the World Cup, or 2 years ago, which was England and South Africa. And just the environment and, the cricket is different, right? Like, it's when you get into the stadium and then the history and then the two teams going, and she's like, yeah, this is way better than baseball. So,
yeah, it may be if you are in the stadium, but if you have to bear the brunt of cricket on your TV for a month nonstop, I actually kicked them to the basement the other day. I'm like, nope, there's no cricket. There's no cricket in the living room. It's not happening. You need to go downstairs and away, out of my sight. I don't want to see any more cricket. But I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to have this conversation. I think we should make it a feature because I normally have 2 cups of beverages, like hot tea, and I usually finish half a cup every episode, but today I finished both. So it was a lot of fun watching you guys talk. So any comments? Let's wrap it up. Any final comments, Pavan? What are your expectations from this test in Australia right now? And why is it so important? Like, why is it that everybody seems to be watching this right now? Like, it's because I remember when we started talking about having to, when we were discussing this topic that we should talk about this, and we were talking with my team, and at that time it came up that India is playing in Australia, and my reaction was, yeah, they're just playing a test. It's not like it's a World Cup. And all of them literally pounced on me. It is such an important test. It is such an important game. How can you just say it is just a test? So tell me why.
So India and Australia have their it's a rivalry. Like India used to be rivals with Pakistan, but now India has become rivals with Australia. So when Australia comes to India, so it's like beating them in their own home ground. That's like a big challenge. And India hasn't been able to beat Australia in a test series, but I think I forgot when they beat Australia in their home ground. That was a big deal. Yeah. And then Australia came and beat India in India. So now India has to go and beat Australia in test series in Australia, in GABA. Like that's like the big thing which needs to be done. And and watching tests is a totally different thing. It's like it's an acquired taste. It's not for everyone's cup of tea. And India playing Australia in tests, I was just listening to the comment. This is the last thing I would like to say about this. So I was listening to the commentators in this thing. They're saying that the Australian bowling attack, their combined matches is like 250 matches and over 1,000 wickets. And India's bowling attack in this test is combined experience of 4 test matches and 11 wickets. So Indian bowling attack is like all of them are injured, very, very inexperienced rookie bowling attack. So it's going to be, and they already took 2 wickets. I don't know what would happen.
Avinash agrees
Just
with
a
you.
test?
Just a test? Are you kidding me?
I think what I would say is people watch sports for the stories. Sports tells some of the most amazing stories. And in cricket, there are 2 stories to tell right now. And one is India and Australia, and the other one is Australia and England. And those are the 2 stories to tell. And you know, it generates interest. There's look at this story now. We've got this young Indian bowling attack trying to beat down probably the best batsman in the world right now, you know, Steve Smith. Not maybe the most honest athlete in the world, but you know, probably the best batsman in the world. And you know, it's drama, and it can hold you. And the best thing about watching test cricket is you can watch it in the evenings and into the night. It doesn't interfere with your work, and usually doesn't interfere with your family life. So I think it's generally a win for everybody.
I disagree, but that's okay. I wanted to actually, we don't have a lot of time left, but I wanted to touch a little bit on the 2020. I think that's a very new concept. In 2003, 2004 is when it started. So I guess we'll talk about it next time. Like I want to talk about evolution of cricket or where we're headed from here onward. So we'll talk about it next time. I thank all of you for taking the time out today. Arcot, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you for this opportunity, because it's wonderful to talk about cricket always. And thank you. And it was nice to see Ravin after a long time. And Pavan, I didn't know you're such a big fan of cricket.
Oh yeah, that's all. I'm not a player like you guys. I just watch. I'm a couch player more than.
Yeah.
That's good. But you might get into trouble with Roop. You better watch it.
Yeah, I do. And there is a big lineup of cricket tournaments. Like India is going to play England very recently, and then so there is a lot of cricket to be watched over there.
And we're supposed to be at home. So what else are we supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Well, we do have an extra room in the basement, just so you guys know.
Okay. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Ravin. Thank you so much. And I hope that you guys will take time out more often. Like we'll probably do a feature on cricket once a month, and hopefully we'll develop and promote cricket in Calgary more than it is already. And thank you once again. Really appreciate your time.
Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.